Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to talk about the cerebellum. What is cerebellum? This is the class number 2 and the class number 1 of the PG anatomy of the brain. We already discussed about the PG anatomy of the brain stem. Brain stem is the, as we know that, is a combination of the pons, medulla and the midbrain that we have already explained in the class number 1. So in this class, I will discuss about the PG anatomy of the brain. What is mean PG anatomy? PG mean physiology of the cerebellum and the anatomy of the cerebellum. Okay. So what is cerebellum? Cerebellum is the part of the hindbrain. One is the cerebrum. Cerebrum is the part of the forebrain, while cerebellum is the part of the hindbrain. Hindbrain consists of the pons, medulla, and the cerebellum, while cerebellum is the largest part of the hindbrain. Okay, so cerebellum is the part of the hindbrain, largest part of the hindbrain, which have many important functions like cerebellum coordinate motor muscular activity with a proper way. Number 2, it maintain our body equilibrium, our body muscle tone and posture of the body. Third function is the different types of skills like typing the laptop or computer, cycling, all the trained work, all the skilled, all the trained which is already stored in the brain. These are all trained work controlled by the cerebellum. Okay, as we know that this is the midbrain. Is this is the midbrain, this is the pons, this is the medulla, like this. This is the pons, this is the cut section. This is suppose this is the frontal side, this is the frontal side, this is the occipital posterior side. So this is the cerebellum, this is the cut section of the cerebellum. This is the right, suppose this is the right, this is the a man is looking in this direction, his eye in this direction. Okay, so I remove the left part of the CNS. Okay, so this is the left part, this is the right part, this is the pons, this is the medulla, while this one is the cerebellum. So cerebellum is lie posterior to the pons and the medulla. This is the pons, medulla. So cerebellum is lie posterior. This is the pons, this is the pons, this is the medulla, and this is the midbrain. While the cerebellum is lie posterior. Okay. So cerebellum is the part of the hindbrain which is lie posteriorly, which is lie at the back side of the pons and the medulla. Okay, this is the first of all I will discuss a little bit anatomy and then the physiology of the cerebellum. This is the posterior view. This is the posterior view. This is the midbrain. This is the superior colliculus, inferior colliculus that we have already explained in the past class. This is the midbrain. Okay, this is the midbrain, while this is the pons. This part is the pons. This is the posterior aspect, and this one is the medulla. This one is the medulla from this point, medulla. But the cerebellum is, I cut this cerebellum, but the cerebellum is present to is this like, which is the one cerebellar hemisphere. This is another cerebellar hemisphere. So I cut this cerebellum, so the cerebellum is present to as a whole round like mass posterior to the pons and the medulla. So this is the cut section of the cerebellum. Okay, this is the pons, this one is the pons, this one is the pons, the medulla, and the cerebellum which is cut. So the cerebellum is covered all the posterior side. Okay, this is the cut section. This one and this one I cut the other part of cerebral hemisphere. Okay, so this is the posterior view, while this one is the lateral view. This is the lateral section of the cerebellum. Okay, The cerebellum consists of two hemispheres, just like cerebrum. Cerebrum consists of two hemispheres, uh, uh, like cerebrum. The cerebellum also contains two cerebellar hemisphere, two cerebellar hemisphere, right cerebral hemisphere and the left. This is the, suppose this is the one cerebral hemisphere, which is start from this point and go up to this point. Okay, and this is the another cerebral hemisphere. These two cerebral hemisphere combine together by a worm-like structure, which is called the wormus. Suppose this is the wormus. This is the wormus, which combine one cerebral hemisphere and another. Okay, look at this one diagram. This is the anterior. This is the superior view. This is the superior view. Look at this one. This is the, suppose this is the cerebellum. This is the whole cerebellum. Okay, from looking up to, from this point, from this position. So this is the superior view of the cerebellum. So wormus is a worm-like. This is the worm-like structure, which combine right cerebellar hemisphere and the left cerebellar hemisphere. Okay, so this is the right cerebral, right and the left. Okay, this is the superior view. This is the anatomical division. The cerebellum consists of three main lobes. One is called the anterior lobe, other is called the posterior lobe, and the third one is called the palliculo-nodular lobe. What is anterior lobe? Anterior lobe is like this one. Anterior lobe is present such like this is the anterior lobe. So this is the anterior lobe. Why it is called anterior lobe? This is the posterior lobe. This is the anterior lobe. Why it is called anterior lobe? Between the posterior lobe and the anterior lobe, there are present a fissure, a groove, a deep groove. There the groove is not made. This is my own error. So this part is mainly present anterior side, while this part is mainly present posterior side. So this is the anterior side. This is the anterior lobe. Okay, the anterior lobe, and this is the whole one. This one is a posterior lobe. These two lobes is separated by a groove-like structure, by a deep groove, which is called the primary pressure. So this is the superior view, and this one is the palate and the deep cut view. When I cut this view in a deep section, so this is the uh, posterior lobe. Okay, these two lobes combine together by the uh, primary pressure. Suppose this is the anterior view. This is the anterior lobe. This is the posterior lobe. So the posterior lobe is morely prominent to the posterior side. This one is the just like posterior view, just a little bit above. Okay, so this is the primary pressure. Okay, the palliculo-nodular lobe. This is the small lobe, which is present here. Cerebellum. The palliculo-nodular lobe is passed from this point up to this point, just like this one. So when I there the palliculo-nodular lobe is invisible, which is present toward the page inside to this structure. This lobe is present. Okay, so there is the palliculo-nodular lobe, a small just like a small lobe. Okay, so these are the three lobes. When I take this picture and insert to this area, then by a cut section, when I remove about this part, about this part, when I remove, then the palliculo-nodular lobe appear in a small view. Okay, so this is the anatomical division. There are three lobes. Okay, the physiological division. This is the physiological division. Physiological division means there are three parts: spinocerebellum, cerebellum or corticocerebellum, and vestibulocerebellum. These are the three main divisions by physiological classification. Okay, spinocerebellum. This area is called spinocerebellum, just like this area is called spinocerebellum. It has its own function that we have that we discuss later. Tone, equilibrium, and posture. Regulate posture, equilibrium, and muscle tone. This one and this one is have about same function. So this is the flacculonodular lobe. This is the flacculonodular lobe. It have the it regulate the posture of the body, regulate the movement of the body, and because it receive impulse from the vestibular apparatus that we discuss later. Okay, this is a cerebellum. So each part, this part spinocerebellum, this part the cerebellum, while this one is the uh, vestibulocerebellum. Everyone have its own function. Okay, that we discuss later, just a minute later. Okay, this is the peduncular system. What is peduncular? What is peduncle? What is peduncle? Peduncle. Peduncle is a huge mass. Peduncle is a huge mass of the white matter of the narrow fibers which carry message from the brainstem, which transfer message between the brainstem, this is the medulla, fon, and midbrain, toward the cerebrum, and the cerebellum. So there are four peduncle. This is the cerebral. This is the cerebral that we have already discussed. The cerebral peduncle, while midbrain is called cerebral peduncle because this is a huge mass of white matter. Okay, which is discussed in the previous lecture. This one, and this one. This is called superior cerebellar. This is a cerebellar. This is a cerebral. Posterior superior cerebellar peduncle is the huge mass of the narrow fiber. When many narrow fiber combine together, it make a huge mass, which is called peduncle. So superior cerebellar peduncle combine together midbrain with the cerebellum. This is the cerebellum. Middle cerebellar peduncle combine together pon with the cerebellum, and inferior cerebellar peduncle combine together medulla with the cerebellum. So cerebellar, so peduncle is a huge mass of the white matter of the fiber, mini fiber combined together. Okay, this is the cerebellar peduncle, which connect the cerebrum with the brainstem, connect the midbrain with the cerebellum, connect the pon with the cerebellum, connect the medulla with the cerebellum. Okay, so this is the peduncular system. But now I will discuss in a big detail the function of the vestibulocerebellum, and then the function of the cerebrocerebellum, well, this red like color, pink color, and then the spinocerebellum. Okay, okay. Let's again. What is the function of the vestibulocerebellum? So vestibulocerebellum is the part of the cerebellum which regulate posture of the body, equilibrium of the body, and muscle tone. Okay, that's the real concept. Okay, as we know that the inner ear consists of two main structures, which one is called the cochlea, and around this is the cochlea. This is the cochlea, and this one whole structure is called the vestibular apparatus. Cochlea is responsible for the sounding hearing, for the hearing, for the hearing process. While the vestibular apparatus is the only part of the inner ear. This is the only organ in the body which regulate movement of the head, movement of the neck, movement of the trunk, movement of the limb. So it maintain a proper movement for the body part, and regulate posture of the body, Okay, so how it work is, we know that the vestibular apparatus consists of three semicircular canals. This is one semicircular canal. This one is another semicircular canal. This is the third semicircular canal, and it also consists of utricle. This is the utricle, and this is the sacules. So these parts regulate the equilibrium of the body. Semicircular canals, these three semicircular canals regulate the angular acceleration when we move our head, shoulder to shoulder, posterior back, right left, and when we move whole body by it means this semicircular canal regulate the angular acceleration of the body, while utricle and sacules regulate the linear acceleration of the body. When we running, when we jumping up down, when we running back forth, when we running right left, by somewhere. Okay, so this movement is regulated by the utricle and sacule, while when we rotate around some point, when we rotate our head, when we rotate at some point in the gym. Okay, so this is regulated by the vestibular apparatus. Okay, this all organ, this one too, all organ consist of hair cells. These are the hair cells, and which is covered by the ploid. The yellow color is the ploid. So this is the utricle. This is the sacule. Utricle is present horizontally, or this is present vertically. Okay. So when we move, suppose here I discuss only the linear acceleration, utricle and the sacule. This help in the backward acceleration. When we move at this point, at this direction or in this, when we run at this direction or this direction, so there the cilia are beating. I am not going to discuss a complete detail for this phenomena, but giving a just little bit idea. So when we move in forward direction or backward direction, these cilia are beating. When we move upward, jumping, during jumping or downward against the gravity, these cilia are beating. Okay, so the signal is go toward the uh, the vestibular nuclei and the pons, and the vestibular nuclei and the medulla. So this nerve is called the vestibular nerve. Vestibular nerve carry information from this all apparatus to the vestibular nuclei. This is vestibular nuclei which is present in the pons and the medulla. Then real concept. This message is go from these nuclei. This is a vestibular nuclei. This message is go during movement of the body. Go toward the cerebellum. This is the cerebellum. First of all, this message go to the vestigial nucleus. Then from the vestigial nucleus and the cerebellum, this is the cerebellum. This is the vestigial nucleus. This is the globus nucleus. So the message is go to the globus nucleus. Then from the globus nucleus, the message is go to the emboliform. This is the emboliform nucleus, and then from emboliform nucleus, the message is go. The point is terminated. The message is go toward the message is go toward this area. Toward this area. This is the vestibulocerebellum. The message is go from this nucleus finally to the this area. This is the vestibulocerebellum with the help of the anterior cerebellar peduncle. So from one nucleus, another nucleus, and another nucleus. Okay, this is the, suppose the medulla. The message is go from the medulla and this up to this one, and then message is enter. Sorry. The message is from the, these are the structures and which carry message to this nuclei. Okay, and then this nuclei give message to the this one area, and this message is with the help of the uh, anterior cerebral peduncle. Okay, then This message is integrated here. This message is read here, and this message is go down through the spinal cord, and the message is transferred to different part of the body like head muscle, neck muscle, limb muscle, and thus we regulate our body, and the equilibrium of the body is maintained here, and regulate the muscular tone. Okay, so this is the method for the posturing of the body. So this is the function of this one. This is the function of the vestibulocerebellum. Now the function of the spinocerebellum. Okay, again I stop this video again and again because this is very difficult topic. Okay, so for this one I am so sorry. Spinocerebellum. Vestibulocerebellum regulate posture, equilibrium, and muscle tone by receiving message from the vestibular apparatus. But the spinocerebellum uh, also regulate tone, equilibrium, and posture by receiving message from the proprioceptor, tactile receptor, and from other receptor of the body. Okay, receptor and the tendon, receptor and the muscle, receptor and the ligament, receptor and the joint. These are also the proprioceptive receptor. Okay, so it also receive message from the vestibular apparatus, but very rare case. But it mainly receive message from the tactile receptor, proprioceptive receptor. Okay, and this receptor and the joint, receptor and the muscle, ligament, tendon, these are other proprioceptive receptor. Okay, so this receive message from this receptor, and this area, this is the spinocerebellum. This part is connected with the spinal cord. It receive message from suppose the lower limb with the help through the spinal cord, and integrate, read this message, and again go to the lower limb through the spinal cord. Okay, so this is the spinocerebellum. Okay, another function is the cerebrocortical cerebrocerebellum or cerebrocerebellum or corticocerebellum. This area. So the function of this area is to coordinate a well uh, defined muscular activity, a well defined motor muscular activity. Okay, okay, again for stopping the video, I am so sorry. Okay, the function of the cerebellum. At this part of the cerebellum regulate the muscular activity like the muscular activity during the damping motion, muscular activity during the ballistic motion. Okay, the timing and programming moment. These are all the moment like the comparator moment. This remember like comparator moment. Okay, here I only discuss the damping motion. This part is also control the typing, cycling. These are the skill dancing. These are the skilled. These are the skill which is already present in the brain, which is already stored in the brain memory. Okay. So what is damping motion? Here I only discuss damping. Damping motion, when we doing a damping motion on some surface. So damping motion is the motion of the body with a smooth and accurate movement. Damping on a spring plate in the gym or in the other sport area. So when suppose this is the springboard. When we going damping up down on this area. Okay, on this damping board. So this is controlled by the cerebellum. Okay, during damping motion, as we know that cerebrum. Here is the cerebrum. The cerebrum, there is the cerebrum. The cerebrum of the forebrain have a specific area, have a specific motor area, which initiate start all the motor activity for the muscular action. Okay, so during damping moment, uh, suppose the message from our leg, this message is go to the cerebrum during damping moment. Okay, so this message is also go toward the cerebellum to this part. This message is go toward the uh, this message during the damping motion, the contraction and relaxation of the muscle of this limb, this part of the lego is go toward the cerebrum and go toward the cerebellum. Then the cerebellum receive message from the leg directly, and it also receive message from the cerebrum. So it receive message from the cerebellum, it receive message from the cerebrum to this area, and it also receive message from the leg. Okay, so during the receiving of two types of message, directly and indirectly, it read this part read the message in order to give a specific response that at what manner the action is going to be started. Okay, so this part read this message, and then this message is go this message is go the message according to the damping, then the message according to the damping, because this area only control the damping motion. I am say this message is go toward the cerebrum. This is the damping message, this is the damping message, while the cerebrum initiate all types of message, all types of motor activities, motor muscular activities. So the it give message to cerebrum to stop all the activity, all the muscular contraction and relaxation, except the muscle for the damping. So the muscle for the damping is doing at its own work, relaxation and contraction, but the other muscle or other body movement is stopped. This is message is this is a message from the cerebellum. So cerebellum stop the all the activity, all the motor activity for the all the muscle except the muscle for the damping. So it control the damping motion. It also control the ballistic movement. This is its own mechanism. Timing and programming movement like typing, fast skill work, cycling. Okay, uphill movement. Okay, so these are all the function of the cerebellum. So this is a this is a very most we are coming from the class 9, 10, 11, 12, and say again and again cerebellum is the part of the brain which control posture, which control the tone, which control the muscle tone, which control the equilibrium. But this is the actual proof how they how this part control posture, how this part control balance about the body, how this part control the timing programming like cycling. Okay, so all these are proved here. So I need at the end I need one subscriber from you. So click the subscribe button and subscribe my channel in order to support me for this hard working. This is one subscribe from one student is my right. Okay.